All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us and welcome to today's NEDAS webinar program, How to Develop a CBRS Business Case, presented by Alex Besen of the Besen Group. Before we get started, I want to encourage you to send us your questions along the way of the presentation. If you're logged into the program online, your dashboard allows for questions or comments to be sent throughout the program. We're going to answer those questions at the end of the presentation. Today's program is meant to provide you with some insights and tools to help you develop a business case for CBRS technology implementation at the enterprise. If you're not familiar with NEDAS, NEDAS, formerly the Northeast DAS and Small Cell Association, is a grassroots, peer-led industry association of collaborators and educators focused on the convergence of wireline and wireless solutions and the ecosystem it affects. We host webinars throughout the year along with in-person meetings. Our next event is in Boston, taking place on July 17th, followed by our New York City Summit on September 5th, and our Washington, D.C. Symposium on November 21st. We'll post these events for your convenience at the end of today's program. Without further delay, I'm pleased to present Alex Besen, today's presenter to you. Alex is the founder and CEO of the Besen Group and an expert on mobile data, mobile wholesale, MVNO, and NVMe subjects. Located in Washington, D.C., Alex provides strategic advisory, business development, and training services in the mobile data industry. No doubt we'll be learning from one of the industry's best today. All right, Alex, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Jennifer. And thank you for NEDAS for this opportunity to present our CBRS business case presentation. In order to comply with our legal team, I just have to read briefly our disclaimer here, just to make sure that everybody has a common understanding. The Besen Group LLC does not accept any legal responsibility for any action taken on the basis of the information provided in the webinar. All opinions, assumptions, estimates, and recommendations cannot be guaranteed, and participants to the webinar use this information at their own risk. The webinar is provided as is, without warranty of any kind, express or implied, including but not limited to the implied warranties or merchantability, fitness for a particular purpose, or non-infringement. The Besen Group LLC accepts no liability or responsibility for any loss or damage or consequential or incidental loss or damage arising from the use of the information contained in the webinar. No part of the webinar presentation may be reproduced in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, photocopying, recording, otherwise, without the written permission of the Besen Group LLC. The Besen Group webinar presentation is for informational purposes only. The Besen Group LLC makes no warranties expressed or implied in the webinar. Thank you. This is the agenda for today. I'm going to talk about our firm here briefly, and then move to the CBRS business models, give you a private LTE network architecture, neutral host architecture, and then get into the business case. We are established in 2004 in the state of Virginia as a limited liability corporation. We have a presence in 3 continents with a network of independent consultants. I am based here in Washington, D.C. I cover North and South America. My counterpart based in Paris covers Europe, and my other counterpart is based in Tokyo, covers Asia Pac. We offer the following services. Our main service is consulting services. We offer training services, and we offer market research. Some of our service portfolios that I'm going to talk about, will include mobile data, NVNOs, NVNE, and HNOs. We have 120 years plus cumulative experience from the telecom industry. We all come from the telecom, mobile, cable industries with hands-on experience. I think that makes us a unique consultants in the marketplace. Some of our references, public references that I can share with you, the following companies that we worked with in the past. Our international experience includes the following countries we worked with, and it continues to grow on a yearly basis. In terms of our service portfolios, these are the 4 service portfolios that we offer. Again, they are all can be downloaded from the presentation. In terms of a training, we offer 8 type of training services, seminars, and workshops. That includes the latest one, our CBRS seminar that we launched last May. cable NVNO seminar, mobile wholesale seminar, NVNE seminar, NVNO seminars, workshops, and IoT seminars. In terms of market research, we focus on the US NVNO syndicated research service, case studies, and then market research in terms of the packaging. When it comes to the private LTE, we start developing our case studies last year. We have so far, I believe, 6 case studies on the private LTE. The latest one was the GE on drones. We have the ISM Raceway, PGA Tour, NFL, Xfinity Mobile, and Spectre Mobile. We will be developing additional case studies as you know. We have opportunities to gather the data and research. In terms of the business case tools, we have developed the industry first CBRS business case tool for private LTE networks and neutral host networks. This was done last year in April-May timeframe, and we released it in June. And we have updated since then. This is version 1.5. I'm going to talk to you about it today. And then we also released neutral host networks for CBRS this January. And then we have updated again recently in March. So we'll talk to you about it as well in the presentation. So I'm going to move on to the business case models now. So we have identified 5 different business models as of today. So that means that as we gather more information, and we will of course add additional business models to our seminars or the presentations moving forward. But as of today, I'm going to talk about the 5 business model that's available today. So this is the first scenario. We believe the enterprises will be interested to deploy CBRS. In this scenario, enterprise will sign an agreement with a SaaS operator who will provide spectrum management services. The SaaS operator then will work with multiple small cell vendors and will recommend the appropriate small cell vendor to the enterprise based on their use case. The enterprise will pay a monthly subscription fee to the small cell vendor for spectrum management services based on the number of small cells deployed. A small cell vendor will provide FCC certified user equipment to the enterprise for indoors and outdoor use case. The enterprise might select different small cell vendors for indoor-outdoor deployments. The small cell vendor then will also provide certified professional installer according to the WinForum accreditation. A small cell vendor will recommend number of EPC vendors that they are working with. The enterprise might also select their own EPC vendor based on their use case. EPC vendor will offer EPC on premise, virtual EPC, or managed service EPC to the enterprise. The enterprise in this scenario will be responsible for the system integration, managing, and operating the private LTE network or CBRS network. The enterprise will be responsible for developing applications for the network. The second scenario here, the enterprise will sign an agreement with the small cell vendor directly, who will provide the FCC certified user equipment to the enterprise, and will also provide the certified professional installer according to the WinForum. The enterprise might select different small cell vendor for indoor or outdoor deployments. The enterprise will pay a monthly subscription fee to the small cell vendor for spectrum management services based on the number of small cells deployed. The SaaS operator will recommend number of EPC vendors that they are working with. The enterprise might also select their own EPC vendor based on their use case. EPC vendor will offer EPC on premise, virtual EPC, or managed service EPC to the enterprise. The enterprise will be responsible for the system integration, managing, and operating the network. The enterprise will be responsible for developing the applications for the network as well. In the third scenario, the enterprise will sign an agreement with EPC vendor for the private CBRS network. EPC vendor will offer EPC on-premise, virtual EPC, or managed service EPC to the enterprise based on their use case. EPC vendor will recommend small cell vendors to the enterprise for indoor and outdoor deployments. Small cell vendor will provide FCC certified user equipment to the enterprise for indoors and outdoor use case. Small cell vendor will recommend SaaS operators that they have an agreement with. The enterprise will pay a monthly subscription fee to the small cell vendor for spectrum management services based on the number of small cells deployed. SaaS operator will provide spectrum management services to the enterprise through an agreement with the small cell vendor. The enterprise will be responsible for the system integration, managing and operating the CBRS network. The enterprise will be responsible for developing applications for the network as well. In the fourth scenario, the enterprise will sign an agreement with the system integrator for design and implementation of the network. System integrator can also provide application development operation services to the enterprise. System integrator will work with multiple EPC vendors and can recommend EPC vendor based on the enterprise use case. EPC vendor will offer EPC on-premise, virtual EPC, managed service EPC to the enterprise. EPC vendor will recommend small cell vendors to the enterprise for indoor and outdoor deployments. Small cell vendor will provide FCC certified user equipment to the enterprise for indoors or outdoor use case. SaaS operator will provide spectrum management services to the enterprise through an agreement with the small cell vendor. The enterprise is responsible for managing and operating the CBRS network. In the fifth scenario, the enterprise will sign an agreement with managed service provider who will offer total managed solution for the CBRS network. Managed service provider will provide design, implementation, program management, and operations of the network. Managed service provider will select EPC vendor based on the enterprise use case. EPC vendor will offer EPC on-premise, virtual EPC, or managed service EPC to the enterprise. EPC vendor will recommend small cell vendors to the enterprise for indoor and outdoor deployments. Small cell vendor will provide FCC certified user equipment to the enterprise for indoors and outdoor use case. SaaS operator will provide spectrum management services to the enterprise through an agreement with a small cell vendor. So in order to develop a successful CBRS business case, we came up with the following strategy workshop. We believe that each enterprise will have its own unique use case, and then this process, I think, will fit the businesses, consumers, and the Internet of Things. We start with identifying the target market, and then we say defining the use case. What will be the use case for? And then the business model. As mentioned, there are 5 business models as we identify as of today, but it can be more depending on the relationship with each party. And then we have to identify the partners for the CBRS business case, and then develop an infrastructure plan. And then we will develop an operations plan, and then we will develop a business plan. From what we have seen in the marketplace, everybody is talking about the CBRS technology, the benefits of it. We have a good understanding of that, but nobody has been focusing on the business case. And then I think it's very important to understand the fundamentals of the business case, because at the end of the day, all the executives, they will need to get approval from the supervisors in order to move forward with this project. Otherwise, if you cannot show off the dollars and cents for building this technology, it won't be beneficial to anybody. So let's move on to the next slide here, and then talk about the private LTE architecture for CBRS. We believe, in terms of to build a business case, we have a solid understanding of the network architecture first. So the EPC network here functions can be largely divided into 2 categories: the control plane and a data plane. When you look at the HSS, Home Subscriber Server, which is a database that contains user-related and subscriber-related information. It also provides support functions in mobility management, call, session setup, user authentication, and access authorization. Serving gateway is the gateways deal with the user plane. They transport the IP data traffic between user equipment and the external networks. The serving gateway is the point of interconnect between the radio side and the EPC. The gateway serves as the EU by routing the incoming and outgoing IP packets. The PDN gateway is the point of interconnect between EPC and external IP networks. MME stands for Mobility Management Entity, deals with the control plane. It handles the signaling related to mobility and security for U2N access. So here is our EPC here on our network architecture diagram. So what we have just mentioned to you in a previous slide, we modeled the EPC. We know we can dimension the EPC correctly based on the number of small cells and based on number of users in the CBRS network. So this is how the network architecture look like. In terms of the neutral host architecture, the difference between the private LTE neutral host, in the neutral host, we have built a connection to the 4 operators in the business model, versus private LTE architecture is just a closed network, but they have no connection to the outside operators. So here we have the CBRS RAN, we have the EPC again, going back to the MNOs, and then as well as to the both MNOs here, you can be up to 4 MNOs, and then to the connection to the users. So I'm going to move to the business case right now. So in terms of the putting it all together, what we have done is we basically step by step we allocated our processes. Here, how we came up with this financial business case tool for CBRS network. We look at they define the services. What are the services this enterprise are looking to offer? Is it going to be for internal use or external use? Understanding the demand, the total demand, what is the market definition, what is the addressable market, and then what is the penetration rate look like. We also did some market analysis. We look at the competition. We look at the Wi-Fi network, comparing the cost to deploy Wi-Fi versus CBRS. We look at multiplier, but we could add additional spectrum bands here. We will be definitely doing that moving forward, such as millimeter wave band. We get lots of requests looking at the millimeter wave band, comparing the cost versus CBRS versus Wi-Fi. And then how we position the enterprise, the company, in terms of the market share, the pricing, and tariff. Right. From that, we built a engine, a dimensioning engine. We get all this market information, and we go through the dimensioning engine where we can calculate, based on the geographic coverage and the capacity, what are the number of small cells are required. Right. So that's the whole idea. From that, once we get the number of small cells, and the rest, we will look at the Opex items, such as cost of services sold, interconnection, roaming, site acquisition, operations maintenance, G&A, and sales and marketing. And once we have the Opex items, then we will put it all together and we look at the key performance indicators, the financial indicators, return on investment, IRR, and then payback. So let's look into the market size first. This is the one key area to start with. What we have done, we said for outdoor deployment, we're gonna base our numbers on a number of subscribers. And then we're gonna use square foot for indoor coverage. So subscribers for outdoor coverage, square foot for indoor coverage. And then from those two numbers, we can calculate our small cells. What does the small cells look like for outdoors and indoors? Going to our small cells dimensioning engine based on the coverage of each use case for outdoors and indoors. So once we have that, the market size information, the next step we'll be looking at the Capex. In the Capex side, again, we look at the indoor small cells. We look at the EPC, on means that on-premise, network design, and outdoor small cells. And the reason we put EPC on here, on-premise, is because some organizations or enterprises, they will prefer to have on-site EPC for security, privacy, etc. So, and the way we calculate the EPC, for each, I'll say, each EPC deployment based on number of small cells and based on $1 per subscriber. So $1 per small cell and $1 per subscriber for each EPC. So when we say we calculate EPC, we're going to look at each EPC functionality that includes the HSS, serving gateway, PDN gateway, and MME. They're all included in the EPC calculation. On the Opex inputs, you look at the SAS as the one main function here, and then we calculate the SAS based on $1 per small cell or $1 per subscriber. Again, the reason we put both options because some prefer, maybe looking at the $1 per subscriber for cost purposes or $1 per small cell. So we have both built into our business case tool, but again, the users of the tool, they can deselect whichever scenario they want to not run the business case. For the EPC deployment, we have the virtual EPC, and then we have a managed service EPC here. Again, $1 per small cell and $1 per subscriber for each scenario. And then additional inputs include hardware, software maintenance and support, MNO and EPC connectivity, utilities, backhaul, outdoor small cell site, right? Interconnection and roaming, telecom taxes, marketing and sales, customer care billing, general administrative. Devices, SIM or eSIM cost. We include the fixed payment to venue owner and a revenue share payment to venue owner. That's the in case of a neutral host deployment, right? And then we have the income taxes and discount rate. With that, we can definitely, I would say, calculate the business case. We can, let me just talk about some numbers here in terms of some assumptions that we made for each scenario. For indoor small cell costs, again, can be from a couple of $100 to $1,000, depending on the small cell vendor. In terms of the one thing we could also add here on the Capex item is the PAL license fee. We don't have any amounts yet, but we definitely include that in our tool. So that will be we'll define it as a Capex item. In terms of the EPC, you need to look at the hardware pricing, software pricing, based on the number of small cells, and then based on number of subscribers. On the SaaS, based on our last presentation we had at our seminar, private LTE seminar, we hosted the Mobile Carrier Show a few weeks ago. One of our presenters, Jeff Johnson, he presented that Google was charging $2.50 per subscriber for SaaS on a fixed wireless access. So we will take that as a sample fee today, and then we can use it for our business case discussions later on. In terms of the additional cost, I can tell you that hardware maintenance support, you can allocate a percentage of the total, I would say, Capex and Opex for that. I would say around less than 10%. Network operations maintenance management, again, will be a percentage of the total Capex and Opex. EPC, MNO and EPC connectivity, we can come up with a price per gigabyte for that as well. And then we have the outdoor small cell site rent. It depends on the geographic location of the deployment. It can be $1,000, it can be $8,000. Depending on the municipality that you are looking to deploy the CBRS network. In terms of the telecom taxes, we assume about 17% there. For marketing and sales, if going to market the service, we assume about 10-12% marketing and sales percentage of the revenues. For customer care billing, we assume about 3 to 5% there. And then for G&A, we assume about 2%. And then discount rate, we use a discount rate of 10%. Today, I would like to share some outputs of what we have done on a cable operator in looking to deploy CBRS on with the subscribers of 1 million in a licensed area. So in terms of the small cell, so it's going to be outdoor deployment. They are looking to have in first year 135,000 subscribers. They are looking to have at least about 300 small cells initially coverage for that. In terms of the Capex, we're looking at the
Alex, this is Jenny Hartley. I just want to interrupt one quick. I just want to just do a touch base. Which slide should we be looking at? Which number?
Oh,
slide 37.
Oh yes. Okay. So for the slides, I think I will go to here. This one, Jenny.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure we're aligned. Okay. Excellent.
Right,
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. So we said that the Capex, for per subscriber is about $2 for this deployment, and then we look at the Opex cost for the cable operator is about $13. So total cost of ownership per subscriber is about $14, 14.3 to be exact, and then that's gives a dollar per subscriber is about $96. And then in terms of deployment, as they grow the small cells, the cost decreases over time from the $14 to $11 to $9 and $7 as they build out the network. So that's that. Let me see. We also initiated this network group on LinkedIn dedicated to private LTE and 5G private networks. If you're not part of it or member of it, please join. We post on a daily basis articles regarding to any activity we see in the marketplace. So that's one thing I would like to share with you. And Jennifer, I'm going to hand it over to this slide for you.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you very much. That was definitely insightful, and I hope everyone found the program to be worthwhile. I do see a few questions that came in, but before we get to those, I just want to talk to the slide and remind everyone that if you want to continue the conversation and learning, plan to join us in Boston at the NEDAS Boston Symposium. Again, that's on July 17th. We're going to send through a registration link following the program. And in addition, if you want to save the dates for our New York City Summit, that's taking place on September 5th. And our Washington, D.C. Symposium is on November 21st. We do have sponsorship, exhibit, and speaking opportunities available for those events and webinar programs. If you're interested, feel free to email info@nedas.com, or you can visit our website, www.nedas.com. There's information there and a sponsorship perspective available. All right, so I do see a few questions come through. Participant wants to know, what are the key Capex and Opex assumptions for the CBRS business case?
Yes, as I mentioned in my presentation, the key assumptions will be in terms of the small cell cost for indoors and outdoor use case, for PAL license fee for Capex item, EPC cost for Capex, or if it's a dedicated or like a on-premise or is a managed service will be on the Opex side. and then SaaS cost, for based on a number of small cells, and so those are the cost, the key cost for the business case, Jennifer.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. All right, we have another question here. Which business model is the most appropriate for CBRS private LTE network?
Yes. So from what we have seen in the marketplace, all enterprises are looking and considering for total turnkey solution. I think given they don't have, the telecom expertise or the background in the industry, so they are looking at vendors who can provide this the total turnkey solution as a managed service for them. So I think the business model scenario number 5, I would say, will be the most demanding today in the marketplace.
Excellent. And then can you talk a little bit about any of the fees that are associated with the tools that are mentioned here?
Yes, each tool are licensed offered on a license basis. They are $5,000. And then part of the webinar today, we will offer them, whoever is interested, 20% discount on their tools. So if you mention that you are part of the webinar registration today, we will check your name on the registration list, and we will provide you a 20% discount on our tools.
All right, excellent. And then we have another question here. How would 5G disrupt this with network slicing?
Can you repeat the question, Jennifer, please?
Let's see. How would 5G disrupt this with network slicing? I don't know if the participant can, if someone responded to that question, if you just want to provide a little more background on that, I can circle back to it.
Okay. I mean, when you talk, yeah.
I was just going to say, just to note, we got a couple of questions. So the presentation will be made available after the webinar. There is a link in the chat box to that. And when we do send up the presentation after, we'll make sure that those links that are within the presentation, we know there was a couple of items linked, that those are working as well, so you can access that. All right, we have another question came in. Are the SaaS fees per subscriber or per small cell node?
It can be both. Again, it can be both depending on the vendor, the operator. That we have both built into the business case tool, and so the users, they can select either one. Either based on number of small cells or based on number of subscribers. It depends on for example, if you look at the outdoor deployment, right? So if you have one small cell covering, 100 subscribers, then they're most likely going to charge you on a base number of subscribers, in order to generate additional revenues for the SaaS. But if you look at the indoors, they're gonna look at it maybe in terms of the small cells. So depending on the use case, whichever has the highest number, the SaaS might say, look, we're going to charge you on the base number of small cells or based on number of subscribers. So we have built in both scenarios to cover, the SaaS revenues.
Okay, excellent. And then there was a question, if you can comment further on any of the assumptions for the SaaS subscription costs that are assumed.
Yes, so the only SaaS, the publicly announced SaaS fee was, again, from a presentation a few weeks ago, provided by Jeff Johnson from CoreBank, as a $2.50 per subscriber per month, and for fixed wireless access. So, you can take it to you can make an assumption saying, that's from Google, offering it for fixed wireless access use case. Maybe it's low end, maybe, more comfortable, around $5 per subscriber, So that's what we can use in our business case today.
Okay, excellent. And then there was a follow-up question. The Google SaaS fee of $250, is that based on subscribers or small cell nodes?
Small subscribers. So that's again this is a fixed wireless access use case. So I assume that the Google's pricing is based on installing one small cell per household, and then charging that, within the household can be 3 or 4 users of the CBRS network, but they're charging on a per subscriber. That I will translate that as a per small cell as well, so $2.50.
All right, excellent. Some good questions coming in. So thanks for everyone for their participation. We have another, just small cell modeling is it based on square feet, take into account variability and types of indoor environments?
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please? Yeah.
Sure. Does your small cell modeling, is it based on square feet? Does it take into account variability and types of indoor environments?
Oh no, no, it doesn't. No, it just looks at the square feet only. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. How are the small cell spectrum sized? So 5, 10, 20 megahertz. What's the largest channel size that you assume?
Okay. Let me just look at that. In terms of the in terms of the channel size, we assume the 10 and 20 megahertz over there. And then we said the capacity for one small cell per channel is 100.
Okay, let's see if there's any more questions coming in. All right, I think I addressed all the questions. Again, thank you everyone for that participation. That was great. And thank you, Alex. Just a reminder too, we will send through the presentation following the close of this. We'll make sure all the links work. And Alex, thank you again. And thanks everyone for their time today. We look forward to hosting you at one of the upcoming online or in-person events.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yes, I just wanted to thank you for this opportunity again. I highly recommend enterprises, developing a business case from the bottoms up business model in order to get all their costs, that part of the CBRS business plan. I think this is the key to make sure that they have not forgotten any line items when they put the business plan together. So we believe that our tools are sufficient enough to cover most of the business line items. There might be maybe few that we haven't gathered into our tools that will be customized on a case-by-case basis. But we will be offering them on a customized basis as well, based on the client's use case. Thank you. For more information, please feel free to contact me. And thank you for the opportunity again, Jennifer.
Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a wonderful week.